Every generation has its giants. Fear, confusion, mass panic, loss of identity, the pressure that keeps building. In the Torah, an entire generation collapsed before the giants of the land, except for two men, Joshua and Caleb. The ancient sages say each possessed a secret, one hidden within the soul and one hidden within the cave. And these secrets may matter now more than ever. One of the great ironies of Israel is that its logo that it uses for the Ministry of Tourism, which shows two men carrying a huge cluster of grapes, actually comes from a biblical reference from Parshat Shelach, Book of Numbers, where this very same act was meant to frighten and discourage people from entering the land of Israel. But because it's a nice image and people are very familiar with it, it became the logo. So what we're talking about here is a story in the book of Numbers where Moses sends 12 miraglim, which means spies or scouts, to do a survey of the land and to get a general understanding of what the landscape is about and some of the challenges that we might have to face when re-entering the land and resettling the homeland. So what happens, if you're familiar with the story, is 10 of the 12 scouts come back with negative reports and instill great panic and fear and amplify all the negativity and discourage the people from entering, not realizing that if God brought them this far in the game, do you think he's going to stop right there, right before crossing the land? If Hashem took you out of Egypt, split the sea, showed you all these miracles and a divine cloud of protection, the well of Miriam, all the miracles, the manna from heaven, you really think Hashem is not going to come with you into the land as well? So the 10 scouts, who are righteous individuals, leaders of the 10 tribes, each their own tribe, went into panic, and it became a sin, and it set us back 40 years. This is the famous story about the 40 years of wandering in the desert, and it comes from this parsha. That was the punishment. Except what I want to focus on today, is something different. I want to take a different angle on the story, and I want to look at what was done right. Because there were two other scouts, Yehoshua, Joshua, and Caleb, who did not join the council of the other spies and stood their ground and were able to see clearly and not be intimidated by the giants of their generation. And what I want to do today is look at what information does the written Torah, the oral Torah, give us that we can learn and apply ourselves when confronting the current threats, the current obstacles that are huge, that are gigantic, at least psychologically in our minds. So let's begin with Yehoshua, Joshua. This is the one verse that gives us the key to the first secret. It says, "These are the names of the men whom Moses sent to scout the land. And Moses called Hoshea, son of Nun, Yehoshua, Joshua." This is the verse upon which the sages build a famous teaching in Talmud Sota that Moses adds the letter Yud and prays, "Ya Yoshiecha me'etzat meraglim," may God save you from the council of the spies. So what exactly is going on here is Moshe took the Yud and just added it to the name Hosea. Okay, so Joshua's original name was Hosea. He added Yud, the Hebrew letter Yud, the smallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet, just added it for his protection. So that somehow, by adding a Hebrew letter and becoming Yehoshua, he'll have special divine and spiritual protection from the wicked counsel of his peers. So this is where it gets interesting. The Talmud asks and answers the question, where did this Yud come from? Where did the Yud that Moses gave Yehoshua, where did it come from? Is it just a random? He pulled it out? And so the Talmud says that this Yud came from Sarah, our holy mother Sarah, the matriarch. If you remember when she had a name change, her name was Sarai, and the last letter, the Yud, the last letter of her name was removed, and then it was replaced with a letter Hey. And this is highly, highly symbolic, because then the Yud, it says that from the time that Sarah's Yud was removed from her name and then given to Joshua, it was screaming and crying in heaven because it was removed from Sarah. And so it was promised that, don't worry, when we find the right vessel, the right person that is worthy of hosting such light, such tremendous divine light that comes from the Yud, then you're going to have a home again. And that home was found in Joshua. So let's talk about the letters themselves and what they imply. So in order to understand what's going on here, we take the four-letter name of Hashem that we're not allowed to pronounce, but it means the all that is. So, but we look at it going down from the Yud to the Hey to the Vav to the Hey, and each one of those letters represents a different realm of existence. The highest point is the Yud. This is what we call Atzilut. And going down, the worlds are Atzilut, Beriah, Yetzirah, and Asiyah. And we'll explain what those means. Atzilut means the nearest point to the infinite. So this is what we call the throne of glory. This is where Hashem presides over all of the worlds. It's the highest point, higher than heaven is the throne. The throne is the place by which the Creator presides over the entire creation. So it's above everything. And then when you go down, that's the first Hey going down. That's the heavenly world. This is what we call heaven, or the spiritual world, the world of Bria, creation. Everything is created in heaven first, before it takes on physical form. Underneath it, we have the Olam Yetzirah, that means the world of formation, or the astral world. It is also a world of duality, good and evil, but it's unseen. It's the realm of the unseen. It's around us, but it exists in astral form. So it's forces at work that are non-physical. And below it is the last Hey, and this is what we need to pay attention to. This last Hey is our world, our realm of existence. And this is the physical world that we currently reside in. So the goal, in a nutshell, the mystics say, is that the Yud of the higher worlds will preside within the physical world. That heaven and earth become one. The spiritual and the physical, there's no difference. This is the ultimate goal of creation, and that's why we say which means, and there'll be a great day, and on this day, that his name will be he will be one, God will be one, and his name, the letters, will be one. So now let's go back to Abraham and Sarah. These are people that are so connected to the heavenly world. They only see the world through spiritual eyes, through the eyes of heaven. But Hashem said, listen, if you're going to be pioneers and you're going to be the mother and father of a future nations, then you need to know that your job is to take from the Yud and download it and bring it into the realm of the Hey. And that's the whole goal. And so, Sarah, in order for you to give birth, in order for you to be a partner in the physical creation, you need to give up this Yud you've been holding on to, because this is the level of lofty spiritual dimension, and you need to learn how to manifest and channel into the physical creation. So we're replacing your Yud and we're putting a Hey. We're also giving Abraham a Hey. He goes from Avram to Avraham. Abraham to Abraham. Both of them get Heys. Now let's look closely at the letter Hey. What do we see? That the letter Hey is actually made up of two Hebrew letters. There's the Dalid, which is the house, and inside the house, the content within is a Yud. Okay? It's a Yud. So what does it mean? It means the physical is housing the spiritual. That godliness is part of the physical world. And that on that day that God's name will be one, we'll come to realize it. Right? The heavenly is hosted by the physical. So the word Dalid is the number 4, Aleph, Bet, Gimel, Dalid, 1, 2, 3, 4. And it represents the physical world, because in the physical world is designed from the 4 elements of creation: earth, air, fire, water. It's also the 4 directions, the 4 winds, the 4 archangels, the 4 directions like north, south, east, west. And the number 4 represents the physical dimension. But this is what Sarah and Abraham needed to do. Now we go to Joshua. Why was Joshua the most eligible candidate to receive Sarah's yud. Okay, we said that Sarah already saw through heaven's eyes, through spiritual eyes, the whole world, but she needed to be more in this world, right? Joshua had the opposite issue going on, okay? He was with other scouts who only, when they went into Israel, they only saw the externalities of what was at hand. The fortified cities, the people are larger in size, they're stronger than us, their fruit is even much bigger than us. Everything is intimidation because they're only seeing the world through the eyes of earth. Okay? And for Joshua to not get sucked into that storm of panic, because panic and fear is like a whirlwind, it pulls you in, right? And you get pulled into the chaos. That's the nature of chaos, is to pull you in. He didn't want to be pulled in. So in order to not be pulled in to the drama of his peers, he had to see the world through different eyes. And he had to see, instead of looking at the physical, the immediate situation at hand, he had to see it through heaven's eyes. He had to see the land of Israel, not just all the trouble and the politics and the wars and the crazy neighbors. He had to see Eretz Yisrael, the land of Israel, the way God saw it. You know, when God first told Abraham to go to the land of Canaan, Lech Lecha, remember, go forth from your land and go to the place that I, God, will show you. So the big question the rabbis ask is, why didn't God just give him an address? Why didn't he give him the name of the place? Why does the Torah specifically say, go to the land that I, God, will show you? Meaning when you see the land through my eyes, through Hashem's eyes, you will recognize it. You will see it. The energy is immense, right? In the same respect, Joshua was able to see the land of Israel through God's eyes, but only because he had the Yud. And this is the secret of the Yud, is not to react to the immediate drama of the times you're living in, the time, the generation, what's happening around the world, but to be able to detach from that, especially if it's rooted in fear and reaction, to detach from that, to take a step back and see the big picture. See Eretz Yisrael, see the land of Israel, see the world through God's eyes. And if you see the world through God's eyes, you see that it's temporary surgery he's making on the world, so it looks like a bloody mess. But we all know in surgery, it's there to heal the man on the operation table. While you see the opening of the body and the gore and the blood and the guts, it's scary. God is performing surgery in the world, and in order for me to understand what's going on, I need to take a step back and see it through the eyes of Joshua, through the eyes of Yud that he received from our Holy Mother Sarah. Now, we're going to go to Caleb. What is the secret or the gift or the tool that Caleb can come and teach us from this week's Parsha? This verse gives us the key to the second secret. It says, "But my servant Caleb, because he had another spirit, ruach acheret, with him, and he followed me fully, I will bring him into the land where he entered, and his descendants shall inherit it." So the question is, what is another spirit? And where did he get it from? The oral tradition says the answer to both questions is Hebron, specifically the cave of the Machpelah, where the ancestors are buried. Where do we see this? In the Torah it says, "And they went up to the south, and he came to Hebron." Notice the change from they to he. The he is Caleb. He separated himself from the spies, and he went to Hebron. Why? Rashi says the following: Caleb alone went there and prostrated himself on the graves of the patriarchs, offering prayer that he might be helped not to give way to the enticement of his colleagues and join them in their counsel. So the same question we asked for Joshua, we want to ask for Caleb. How can we apply this to ourselves personally? And first we have to understand what the cave is. A cave is a place of protection, a place that gives you shelter from the storm, from the changing winds, and all the different drama happening. And in this shelter, you go inside. You go into an inside place. And this cave is in Hebron. Hebron comes from the Hebrew word chibur. Chibur means bonding, or chaver, friend, or chavura, which is people that you study with. It's like different people becoming one unit for the sake of a higher purpose. So this is the cave of bonding. Bonding with what? With your inner voice, with your value system, with the spiritual principles that are inherently yours. And you're becoming reacquainted with that, with your origins. You're becoming in alignment once again with your mission. Before you can face the giants outside you, you must first enter the cave within you. The cave is the place where your soul can hear God again, beneath the screaming of the world. The cave became the place where Caleb remembered who he was, where he came from, what the covenant meant, and that human beings are not measured only by the visible power. Perhaps this is why the Torah uses the phrase, another spirit, ruach acheret, because Caleb no longer saw reality through the ordinary spirit of that generation. The cave changed the lens through which he saw the world. And perhaps this is still true today. Before a person can face the giants of their generation, they must first find the inner cave where the soul remembers what the world made them forget. And finally, one last teaching from the Parsha. The spies said, "We were like grasshoppers in our eyes, and so we were in their eyes." The moment a person internalizes smallness in their own mind's eye, oftentimes the world will mirror it back. So if you think about it, it's a fascinating insight. The way you see yourselves, because we saw ourselves as grasshoppers, so we were in their eyes. Meaning the world is going to mirror you. The way you see yourself in your own mind's eye, the world will reflect that. Tragedy here is that the spies forgot who they were. They forgot their cave. They forgot they're from the seed of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. They forgot the Yud, the seeing the land through God's eyes, the same eyes that God gave Abraham. They weren't able to see through those eyes. So what can we learn from this, friends? That there is a cave that goes back to our principles, to our spiritual values, to our ancestors, to our origins, and we need to revisit that cave again and again anytime we need to get reacquainted with that part of ourselves. But also we're given a little yud, a little tiny, it's the smallest letter in the Hebrew alphabet. And while the giants of the world seem so much more powerful, so much more intimidating, it doesn't matter how large they are, because that little yud, that little point inside is so much infinitely more powerful than anything of this world or the worlds beyond this world. And this is something we shouldn't forget. This is the legacy of Joshua and Caleb and what they left behind for us. So while we don't need to examine this year all the sin of the spies, what went wrong, all we need to do is look at from a different angle at what went right and try to mirror that in our own lives. So from strength to strength, friends, We should always just walk with God in the garden, in our lives, and may all paths open for you. May you be led by the Holy One, the only one, the Almighty One, the Creator of heaven and earth. And may He shine His face upon each and every one of you. God bless.